USA Today's Washington Bureau Chief Susan Page and Roll Call's acting politics editor Shira Toeplitz. Good morning to both of you. And Susan, let's start with you. You know, Peter King really been hammering the FBI over how all of this went down. But when you look at it, could this wiretap have been a game changer? And what do you do about it now if you're in the administration or a member of Congress?
Well, it certainly could have. I mean, the White House says that the FBI did a serious inquiry clearance on this guy when they got the query from the Russians, but of course they didn't know this latest story about the use of the word jihad. So surely that would have prompted a more extensive investigation. You know, it raises the FBI, of course, is doing this hundreds and thousands of times, checking out people that foreign governments raise questions about. And the question is, at what point is the investigation complete? At what point do you need to have continuing surveillance? And that is one of the big issues, I think, that's going to get explored in the aftermath of this terrible bombing. Yeah, where is that line? You know, Shira, it sounds like the Russians are being very protective about their sources. And I want you to take a listen to what Congressman Adam Schiff told Alex Witt yesterday.
There was a wire intercept that was the basis of why the Russians provided this lead to us. We don't have much more than that, and my guess is that the Russians do. If they were eavesdropping on the mother, or they were eavesdropping on some other suspect that the mother was in contact with, there had to be a reason why they went up on those people. They don't choose them at random. So the question is, why were they listening to her conversations?
You know, sure, is there still a distrust here, or is this just really part of the way intelligence is handled in the process?
Well, intelligence is not necessarily a science, especially in these cases. It's an art. And obviously, Schiff brings up a very good point that there had to be a reason that they were listening to this particular mother and this particular son's phone conversation. What I'm going to be looking for in the next couple of weeks is how House Republicans, though, are going to react to this. Are they going to call certain people to testify? And if so, which people from which department? And we'll see how much of an issue they're going to make this.
Susan, the question might be in front of us right now after the weekend and discussing this more. Is there any doubt there's going to be some hearings in Congress to dig deeper into all of this? Oh, yes, of course. I think we will have congressional hearings to explore various questions, including the decision to Mirandize the suspect, the surviving brother, after interrogating him for about 2 days under the public safety exception. You know, that's something that we've heard concern about on the part of some Republicans. And, you know, I think the biggest issue we're going to see explored is, did these two guys act on their own, basically getting information off the internet, or was there some larger connection to terrorists or to terrorist groups in the United States or elsewhere behind the bombing? Sure. How wide is these questions in Congress?
Yeah, I think they're about to be very wide. I think this is going to be the #1 thing House Republicans are going to talk about this week. Granted, it's a recess week, so they're not here, but they're going to be talking about it at home in their districts and probably when they come back tomorrow. And Susan also brings up a good point about whether or not this was a widespread investigation. The FBI, a larger terror plot than just these two brothers in Boston. FBI was very quick to say no, and there's some House Republicans who are doubting that right now. All right, stand by if you can. I want to bring in Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, a Democrat from New York. Always good to see you.
Always good to see you, Richard.
So you've heard part of our conversation here, Representative. What's your thought here? Do you share the concerns of some of your colleagues that we've played a little bit right here? Do you believe that something needs to be done in Congress about this?
Oh, absolutely, especially knowing that their next target was New York City and Times Square. One thing that Congress can do right now is pass the gun safety laws. As it stands right now, the next Tamerlan can go to a gun show and buy all the guns he wants, all the weapons he wants, and no problem, no questions asked. I think at the very least, Congress should pass sensible gun safety laws that law enforcement is asking for. Law enforcement really wants the bill that actually I authored it several years ago that would make trafficking in guns a felony. I mean, how dumb can we be? Well, let's stop this, and raises the penalties on straw purchasers so the bad guys that are buying guns for other bad guys know that they're going to get more than a slap on the wrist and be in the slammer. That's important.
And talk more about that. You gave a very passionate speech on the floor on Friday, and your concerns there were making that connection between gun legislation as well as what has happened in Boston. Dig deeper into that.
Exactly. As it stands right now, Tamerlan, as we know now, was on the terrorist watch list. So we know a gun check would stop him if there was a background check. But as it stands now, Tamerlan or the next Tamerlan or Lanza or the next terrorist can go to any gun show and buy 100 round magazine. They can buy all the assault weapons they want, no questions asked. The gun lobby has the upper hand now, even though 90% of Americans want gun safety. This in no way infringes on the right of law-abiding Americans to have guns for self-protection, to go hunting or whatever purpose. But for the terrorists, for the bad guys, let's pass sensible gun safety legislation, and all of us need to turn up the heat on this. The president, legislators, because it's not poll numbers, it's not politics, it's lives. Well, 30,000 people died last year because of gun violence. Let's try to close some of those loopholes.
What do you make of Mike McCall's statement about there being a possibility of a wider conspiracy?
Well, I am sure that the FBI, the CIA, the National Protection System, the Homeland Security System is looking into absolutely every lead. And what is very different now, we have both China and Russia working with us, taking stands against North Korea and cooperating now with the suspects in the terrorist bombing in the Boston Marathon. And they are working with us. This is a worldwide problem. We have to work together to really stop these terrorist activities. What's more important than Homeland Security? What's more important than protecting our people? It is the top priority.